This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
Brought to you by First Light. When I'm hunting, I need gear that won't quit. First Light builds no compromise gear that keeps me in the field longer. No shortcuts, just gear that works. Check it out at firstlight.com. That's FIRSTLITE.com. All right, everybody, you're going to learn everything you ever want to learn about I can't even say the word. Olfaction?
Olfaction.
Like, how do animals smell? What do they smell? Do humans really suck at smelling? What does a hound dog smell when it smells something? When a deer catches your wind, what's happening? Is there any way to have a deer not catch your wind? How good are they? How bad are we? You're going to learn everything you ever want to know about human and animal ability to smell. Janis Putelis is here as well, and he's going to ask a lot of very pragmatic, practical questions about how good are hound dogs really, and what conditions make them,
I know.
When do they do their job and not do their job? And who's going to teach us all this is Dr. Lucia F. Jacobs. She's an evolutionary biologist, neuroscientist, and professor emerita, retired but in good standing.
Yeah.
Professor emerita of psychology and neuroscience at UC Berkeley, where she directed the Jacobs Lab of Cognitive Biology. Her research explores how animals use scent to map environments, navigate complex terrain, and solve spatial problems. A world-renowned expert on animal cognition, Dr. Jacobs has studied squirrel behavior extensively. Her PhD, I'm going to point this out. This isn't in your written bio. Oh. You've studied the eastern gray squirrel, an animal of great importance to us.
Since 1981.
Yeah, the wily eastern gray squirrel. She's writing her forthcoming book on squirrel cognition, examining the surprising intelligence behind how rodents store, recall, and protect thousands of hidden food caches. To get us started, well, welcome to the show. To get us started, let me tell you a thing that I've always thought, and then I came across your work. I got two balls in the air now. I came across your work in a book called Super Navigators, and it's a book about how animals navigate. And there was a bit about olfaction. And I found your name, and that's how I found you. A thing I've always thought, and I tell this to my kids, I tell them, like, we humans suck at smelling. We can't smell anything. But now a bear, there's a guy that can smell, right? Do we suck at smelling? I mean, are we experiencing a world that we can't even understand what an animal's experiencing when it walks outside and takes a whiff of the air? Or are we not that bad at it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two kinds of olfaction, and there's orthonasal, where you're sniffing in and you're using that. You're like, what's out there in the world?
That's when I go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's retronasal, which is asking what's in my mouth. And to kind of sniff what's in your mouth, you breathe out. So you're sending air over the stuff in your mouth out through your nose. The nose doesn't really care.
I have to ask, the what's in the mouth, that is just scent molecules that have accumulated in your mouth?
So if I'm not a wine connoisseur, but if you are, they put wine in their mouth and then they breathe. They take a little bit and they're breathing out. So what they're doing.
It's so pretentious, though. Go ahead.
I know, but anyway, that's what I mean. They're neuroscientists who Gordon Shepard's written some great stuff about this. But and so then it's.
But it doesn't have to be a physical thing, right? I'm just wondering.
You don't have any idea you're doing it, right?
Okay, so you have to be like eating something.
Well, if you eat something, you've only got like 5 taste receptors, sweet, sour,
Yeah.
salt, but you've got hundreds of olfactory receptors. So if you put food in your mouth, what is it? You're going to breathe out, and it's going to go past your receptors of your nose, and you're going to get all that information. I mean, sure, you can also sniff a plate of food and get a lot of information. That would be orthonasal.
Okay.
But then once it's in your mouth, you breathe out, and then you're getting retronasal. So humans are really specialized on flavor, which is both taste and odor. And we've been, for hundreds of thousands of years, we've been specialized on processing food, cooking food, all that. And so we've got we're special in that sense. But at the
sorry, go ahead.
no, but at the same time, we are we're not clueless about the other. I mean, about where we are in space. And I would say mostly it's because people assume we can't do it, so there aren't any studies of it. And it wasn't till I really started beating the drum that olfaction is being used by across the animal kingdom to orient space a lot, like importantly, that I started. Actually, we did a study of humans where we had people in a big room, and we had 2 like literally Q-tips of odors that were hidden and with all these decoys. So they didn't know what it was. And we had them, they were blindfolded. We had, earplugs. The only
What
thing
were the odors?
The odors, we used actually what people use for nose work. So that's anise and birch. Those are just ones those are the classic ones that people use to train pet dogs. But we really had a tiny, tiny amount. Like you walk in, you wouldn't think this is a smelly room. And then people were blindfolded, and we in a large room, and we took them to a specific place, but we did very meandering path and turned them around and around. So they really had no idea where they were. If they couldn't use path integration to know like where they had come in for the door.
Got it.
And then they were given 1 minute to smell. That's it. And then we would do the same meandering, turn them around, bring them back out. We take off the blindfold and the ear, and the earmuffs, and then say, okay, go back and find that place. And the only odor, and we did all this, carbon, scrubbing the room of odors before and after. So we just had those 2 odors, and people could find that space again, statistically above chance. And when I did it as a,
when you say that space, that spot they were standing in.
That spot, yeah. So no one's ever done that experiment with any other animal. We think that, but we did it with humans because the humans are easy to train. And I'm in a psychology department, and as I say, humans are really good for some things. And this was an experiment where humans were really. We started doing dogs first, and it was like a real pain to train them accurately. So we switched to humans, and then it turns out humans could do it. So, but the point of it is so much of our processing is unconscious that humans are probably orienting to odors all the time and don't know it.
I see.
Now, I was, when I ran the experiment as a subject, I told the students, I designed the experiment, and I said, I have no idea where I was. I'm never gonna, and I would still go back, and I would be back in their accurate place. So consciously, I thought I didn't know where it was.
Like you had a nasal sort of like the relative odors hitting you. This is where you'd have to go.
Yes.
To find that same blend of smells.
That's
where in a room.
Exactly. And that's the thing about odors is you think about the world, there's all these odor plumes coming from a forest, a stream, a lake, all that. And wind direction can be fairly standard. It's going to come down a slope, it's going to come along a plane a certain way. And so when you've got 2 streams of odors crossing, then that blend can become predictable. I mean,
Got
that's what we proposed, and that's what we found in humans, even
What-
though without conscious awareness necessarily.
What is it like? What is the smell that we smell best? Because I've heard people explain that we're super good on sulfur.
You know,
Is there is there some truth to that? There's like some things that we can detect at parts per million that maybe other things wouldn't know. Like we're good at certain smells.
no, I know that I think the smell of a corked wine is apparently something that maybe that's the sulfur. I don't have those facts right at my fingertips right this minute.
Mhm.
But there definitely people like Gordon Shepherd have shown that humans are better at there are scents that humans can detect better than a dog, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, you know, our olfactory system is really specialized for the species. Like we all have different components. You know, we've all got these olfactory receptor genes, but people actually, even in different continents, will have different receptor genes. And then plus over your lifetime, you can change the function of those genes by your experience. That's called these epigenetic processes. And that's been shown in mice so that and actually in humans, there's certain odors that there's like, I don't know, a certain percentage of people can't smell, like 20% of people. And you can take those people and train them for 2 months and then they can smell it.
Really?
Yes, yes, and there's some evidence that with a lot of training, you know, the olfactory bulb, which is the part of the brain that detects everything, actually changes in volume and size, and can
Really?
actually increase. And in most, in all other vertebrates, humans, it's a little less, a little more controversial, but the olfactory bulb continues to add new neurons, new nerve cells throughout life. And so in mammals, there's really only 2 places that keep adding neurons throughout life, and one is the olfactory bulb,
Hmm.
and the other is this brain structure that it's massively connected to, which is the hippocampus, which is, guess what? A navigation center.
Oh, no kidding. Huh.
I had a question about just the way our sense of smell developed. I'm getting from it that sort of the whole reason for it is just because we liked to eat different things.
I mean, that's actually true. I mean, we had a really good sense of smell before that. And so that's something that I've actually published on, is why humans are the only great ape that has an external nose. So if you think about gorilla, orangutan, chimp, I mean, there's very few great ape species left. There used to be a lot, but now there's just 5 of us. But if you also think about all the hominids that came before our genus, Homo, if you think about all the Australopithecus, we've got their skulls, and you can see from the skull that there's a bone right here, the naxon, that you can feel your own bone, and it's kind of like a ski jump. And so if you look at a human skull, like your skull, you've got a bone that sticks out on top, and then a bone that sticks up on the bottom. And so there's actually forensic psychologists or pathologists, you can give them a skull of a human and they can reconstruct the nose of that person, like 100% accuracy. Whereas they say you can never do that with an ear, you know. But the nose,
Oh, yeah.
you know, but the nose, because they do that. They take a picture of the person before they were dead, and then they've got their skull, and then so they've done really nice controlled studies to show that nose shape is extremely individual, and it can get reconstructed from the skulls. So we can go back and look at Australopithecus and know they didn't have an external nose.
When you say an external nose, you mean just like this stick out thing?
Yeah, right. This stick out thing.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Like a gorilla, he's flush.
That's right. That's right. And if you look at a gorilla skull, it's it's completely flush. Yeah. Or any of the great apes.
What is that? Why does our nose stick out?
So that was funny. You should ask. So
So you can stick it into stuff?
no. So actually, I'm a squirrel biologist, but there was only one hypothesis to propose why, and that was proposed in 1913, which was it humidifies the air before it hits your lungs. If you've got cold, dry air, you don't want that in your lungs. I mean, that makes sense. It's an air conditioner.
Okay.
But I came on the scene and thinking about animal noses, well, doesn't it have something to do with olfaction? And the anthropologists had never considered that the human nose had an olfactory function. I mean, it was all been the air conditioning hypothesis.
Yeah.
And so this was like 2015. And just then I was really lucky. There were some really great anthropologists who were coming out and saying, the old air conditioning hypothesis does not hold. We've tested it. These assumptions, it's not working anymore. And so it was perfect timing for me to waltz in and say, hey, I'm a squirrel person, but I think we need to consider this. This. And so basically what I proposed is, if you look across the animal kingdom, how animals orient in space is by using stereo olfaction. So if you think about stereo vision, that's like, if you can close one eye, you've got mono, two eyes, stereo, and predators have stereo because it's for depth perception, right? I mean, you can estimate distance better. Well, 1964, there was a great Hungarian biologist who suggested, why can't olfaction work that way? And in the 60s, people were already testing it with honeybees. So if they've got antenna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you immobilize one antenna or you cut one antenna, and then you give them a really simple choice test. It's called a Y maze. So, do you turn left or right to get to the reward? Honeybees they couldn't do it if it was fixed, and they couldn't do if it was cut. And so
so just to make sure I'm getting this. I mean, the same way stereo hearing.
right.
How do you describe that?
Stereo audition. Yeah.
Like
yeah. Right.
I can close my eyes, and if Yanni talks, I know he's over here.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But if I didn't have two ears,
right,
I would just know it would feel like an omnipresent sound.
That's right.
Not directional.
Yeah.
So you say with these honeybees, you clip one, and he can't tell if the smell's coming from left or right.
Right. Right. And so meanwhile, they did it with slugs who have tentacles. They don't have antenna, but they've got tentacles. Exactly the same result. They've done it with hermit crabs, which have not hermit crabs. I think it was lobsters, because they have antennules.
Yeah.
And the same thing, antenniform things, and they cut it, the same thing. And then the really cool result was garter snakes, which have forked tongues. And it turns out the forked tongue, they take,
no way.
Yes. And if you cut one tine of that forked tongue, they are less they're slightly disoriented.
They get lost.
And if you give them a simple task like left or right, they're worse at it.
Really?
Yeah, and that's because what they're doing is they are out there with the tongue sampling airborne odors.
Yeah.
And they pick it up on the two tines of that tongue. They bring it back in. They're actually using a different olfactory system that's called the vomeronasal system. And there's two pits in the palate, the hard palate of the mouth. And they bring the tine in, and they literally pick up with chemicals. They bring it in, and they stick it into those pits.
No way.
Yes.
Each little little prong has his own little pit.
What? Yes. And
they deliver it back into his mouth.
Right. Exactly. And that's what and if you see a snake do it, that's exactly what a snake's doing. It's going sample. And then what is it? Sample.
I never thought about that forked tongue business.
Yeah. And what's really cool is that these evolutionary biologists, if you look at there's lizards snakes are basically really just specialized lizards, and they're lizards that have forked tongues versus lizards that don't have a forked tongue. And the lizards with forked tongues are more mobile, they're more predatory, they move at greater speeds, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely
God, man, I didn't know that. Have you ever? I don't know if you ever noticed this. If let's say you like be walking around the woods, okay, or walking down the road, and you'll all of a sudden get hit where there's something dead and rotten.
Yeah.
It is so hard to find it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Do you know, like, you know what I'm
Okay.
talking about? You be like, dude, something is dead. But you
Yeah.
can't, you
Yeah.
can't, it's like hearing a high pitched noise. You can't tell where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You become aware something's dead somewhere.
Right. And that's
But I feel like if you have a dog with you, that son of a bitch is on that smell like in seconds. Like
well,
to him, it's not confusing.
well, and it could be because we are really sensitive to that smell.
Mhm.
And so, like, we're probably that could be something that we are incredibly sensitive to. And so it's all around us.
Got it.
But a dog, is specialized to track location of scent. So they've got a completely different, not only do they have twice as many olfactory receptors as us, but they also, like inside the nose, they have a whole area where when they're sniffing in, it's it like they open up the front of their nose, and it gets sucked in and it goes straight to the olfactory area.
Okay.
It's really like there's a little corral that the air comes in and boom, it goes right into that corral.
Uh-huh.
And we don't have that. Ours is kind of flat. So, we're never going to be as good at localizing odor as a dog.
Got it. We have a blast every summer, fishing, swimming, camping out, shooting bows, sitting around the fire. Last weekend, we were floating a creek and then doing some metal detecting, and we found what I believe to be a very old horseshoe. It's all the best, and if you're looking for the perfect companion to your summer adventures, try the refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew. From its beginnings in the foothills of Tennessee, invented by two brothers back in 1948, Mountain Dew has been a constant, and they've got proud American roots. It's an American original of citrusy goodness. You can celebrate summer and America's 250th birthday with Mountain Dew. Whether you're at the grill, on the beach, or right in your living room, sipping on a Mountain Dew is a great way to start a damn good time. Enjoy the refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew, an American original, tasting great since '48. Look for Mountain Dew in stores near you at mountaindew.com. That's mountaindew.com. You know, another one that hits you like you can't tell where it's coming from real bad is the smell of a skunk.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
That's just like it's everywhere, but nowhere.
Yeah.
And I have personal experience where I had a cattle hypodermic needle in my garage, and I had some skunk essence in that thing. And for weeks, it was a family mystery. Why did the whole garage smell like skunk?
Right.
No, you could walk around that garage all you wanted.
Right.
And no one was able to go like, oh, it's coming from right there. It was just everywhere all at once.
Well, I wonder if that's because it's so potent. Like we are sulfur. We're so sensitive to sulfur, or if whatever that is, that it just needs one molecule.
Yeah.
And
it overwhelms you.
And well, so and how odor moves, it's mostly through air temperature, actually. So convection, and people it's so you can put like if you had skunk in a room with vacuum sealed, it wouldn't move at all. It would stay in that one place. But as soon as it's you've got you've got wind. Tiny amounts of temperature differences will start small wind movements.
Mhm.
And so your garage, you've got wind, even though it doesn't feel like it.
No, I
but
know
you've
what
got
you mean,
air.
yeah.
And so imagine that your nose only needs 3 molecules of skunk to say there's a skunk, and every single place in the garage has 3 molecules of skunk. So there's just no way to find it. Whereas
Yeah.
the dog is like I mean, the other thing about odor is that you habituate to it, and so then it becomes a background that then you can smell um, something. You can smell the foreground,
Yeah.
and in fact, with mice, the faster they smell, the more they can have like a smell they're looking for, and the faster they smell, the more it separates the foreground from the background.
Hmm.
So when a dog starts looking for something, they'll be sniffing really fast. They're trying to discriminate, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're trying to, background one set of smells and foreground, the other.
Yeah. That's funny. Yanni's dog, when he's got his hound dog. For that dog, like if you set a duffel bag in my house, I have like a little mutt dog. It's gonna be like not that. It'll give it a passing whiff.
Uh-huh.
His dog basically has to sit down and spend 15 minutes on that duffel bag.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Wow.
every aspect of that duffel bag, it like explores it.
Wow.
Wow. It's like so even within that, even within dogs, they're on a separate.
Yeah.
They're like these two dogs are on a whole separate trip.
Yeah.
With what they like, with what.
That's right.
They're thinking and doing.
Absolutely. And a lot of that is breed, obviously that's why people have different breeds for different kinds of hunting, but also personality and experience. And
that's something you don't think about, personality and experience.
Yeah, this is actually a huge area now in animal behavior is personality, and showing that animals have different personalities from and you can measure it throughout an animal's lifetime, and they will respond differently to the same situation, reliably.
The same animal will respond
Same
differently?
animal. No, the same animal will respond like the animals who are actually work done chickadees, who are bold, who explore more,
Sure.
and then who the others who are cautious and who explore more slowly, and it's even genetically based. So you can have a bold father and a cautious mother, and they will have chicks, some of which are bold, some of which are cautious, and depending on what the food situation is that year, it might be that a bold bird does better, and then you'll see the ones with more bold chicks do better, and there's more bold birds in the next generation.
And then someone's got a house cat outside, and the bold bird is at a real disadvantage. Is that a real disadvantage?
Right.
Hey, what? Okay, when we smell, like it's all through the air, right? Or like you said, you taste it.
Yeah.
But what's going on when a fish smells something? Is he smelling like?
Yes.
Is he tasting it or smelling it, or what is he doing?
Well,
because it's all in the water.
Both. I mean, both actually. Like fish can have taste receptors all over their body, like catfish. So they can literally taste with their whole body. That's different. They're really specialized, like someone like a catfish, the real olfactory specialist.
Like you can theoretically take a catfish and hold his head out of the water.
And put
and dunk his body in the water, and he's conducting some smell type activity.
Yeah, he's like, delicious. Yeah,
with his head out of the. I mean, I know that it wouldn't work, but like theoretically,
I think that right, because I mean, I know, and I think that's true of a lot of, I think, goldfish, catfish, but their olfactory system is incredibly good, and they, I mean, we're basically fish. We have the same brain as a fish. We have the same skeleton as a fish. We just you can take a fish skeleton and stretch it, and it it looks like our skeleton is not that different from a fish skeleton 400 million years ago. So, and the brain,
backbone, ribs, whatever,
everything, and most of the brain, not the big cerebral cortex, but most of the other things in the brain that I've talked about, that's all in the fish. It's all there before we left the water. So, but fish, the big difference is bony fish have 4 nostrils. So they've got 2 sets. They've got an anterior and a posterior. And so they've got water comes in through the anterior. It goes through the olfactory epithelium. That's us up here. That's where ours is. Goes through it and on the top of the snout, and then it comes out the back. And
Comes out the back.
yeah, because they've got like 4 holes in the top of their snout.
Yeah.
So 2 are input, 2 are output.
Oh, okay.
So they come in, it goes out. But what's different about fish is because they can smell anything that can be dissolved in water. So you can have like big molecules, huge things like peptides that a fish can suck in to their nostrils, and they've got receptors to tell them what it is. And so you've got aquatic animals like have completely different olfactory receptors because they can smell tiny things, big things, as long as it can be dissolved in water and they can suck it in, they can smell it.
Anything water soluble.
And then you get frogs, which live, both in water and in the air, and they've got some water, receptors and some air receptors. And you look at their
Also, a frog can smell out of like a bullfrog can smell up in the air or down in the water.
Right.
Oh,
And they've got like a valve that they can close so that they can smell, one way or the other. And other animals have done, like sea turtles can do that. But then when we came onto land, when vertebrates came onto land, and then we never went back, you can't. What happens is we became completely land-based terrestrial animals, right?
Yeah.
And then we lost the ability to smell things in water because you can't snuff up. You're not going to smell anything in water, and we became air specialists. So if you look at the genome of land animals, it went from the fish genome to the frog genome, which is kind of 50-50, and then it became the land genome, which is all air genes. So that's when we became really specialized for orienting only in air, but that means that our nose can only detect little molecules that are volatile, that are in the air. We can't detect big molecules because guess what? They don't travel in the air.
I got it.
So what I realized was all these other animals are using antenna for stereo olfaction, and they need it to orient. And it turns out that basically what this external rubbery mammal nose is a couple of tubes. And the physicists have shown that if you suck air through a tube fast, what happens is it kind of acts like an antenna. So an antenna is where, you can, if you want to orient in space, you want to have a sample here and a sample here, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want the samples close together. You want them far apart.
Yeah.
And so if you've got tubes on your face and you suck in air fast, the air comes from further away. It's just they did this purely with tubes physics. My collaborator John Camaraldi did this. And so what I proposed is that humans are basically tube noses. And the other tube nose group is the seabirds, albatross, and the shearwaters. Those are called literally the tube-nosed procelariforms are called tube-nosed seabirds. And those seabirds, like petrels, albatrosses, they are specialized. They spent most of their life in the air looking for, food on the ocean, which is like, as Gabby Nevitz says, like a needle in a haystack. And the way they orient, and she's done work on this, is they orient to a smell. So there's when krill eat phytoplankton, they emit disulfide. What was it? Anyway, they emit a sulfur compound.
Okay.
And the birds can detect that from far away, and then they come in because
no way, really?
Yes, and that means because the krill means that's where they're going to find fish and food.
You're kidding me? They can smell krill under the water somewhere. by
Well,
what's coming up
by
from the surface.
what's it's being released.
Huh.
It's a disulfide compound.
Whatever it is, I won't have heard of it.
No, it's methyl disulfide. Yeah, I'm just trying to show off my chemistry, which is like can't just remember that one. It's methyl disulfide. No, it's and birds actually. There's studies now in seagulls and homing pigeons and little songbirds that if you block their olfactory system, they are disoriented.
Really?
Yes,
Huh.
yes. No, it's and birds and up and people saying that does make sense, but then there's atmospheric winds that are carrying odor from like continents which is actually a lot of information.
How he can find his way back to land.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's the tube-nosed birds, and so what I proposed is humans are the tube-nosed apes. We're the only ape that have this thing, and then since there's been studies showing that if you block one nostril, with humans, when if you blindfold them and put them to track a coconut, a chocolate trail across some grass that if you block one nostril or you swap the inputs to the nostril, they put a big mask that either blocks one or swaps it. This was Noam Sopel's work at Berkeley. It was great work. That the humans are disoriented. So
Really?
and so humans can orient just like a dog, a trail. I mean, they can track. And then Ken Catanian did this work with moles where he put tubes in their star-nosed moles. And he put little tubes in their nose, and all they had to do was, move a few centimeters to find an earthworm. And if you block one tube, or if you cross the tube, so you've got the inputs coming crossed,
Yeah.
completely disoriented. The mole is just like walking over the earthworm and can't find it. So that shows you that it's not just the amount of data that's coming in, it's where is it coming in on the left or the right. So it's just like you were saying about your ears.
I'm going to be walking through the woods, navigating in a whole different sense here in 2 weeks when September kicks off.
I would.
But here's the deal though about the birds. A lot of like if you're hunting a lot of stuff, you need to be very aware of the wind because you got to come in from downwind, or else it's going to smell you. But when no one plays the wind with turkeys.
Well, but turkey actually, turkey vultures have really good sense.
No, I'm talking the turkey.
Yeah.
There's no. Maybe it's just a thing people miss. There's no sense of needing to hide from a turkey's nose.
That's right, and that's probably true. Though,
you think that is true?
Well, there's more work now. Birds, little songbirds, they avoid nest holes that have, if you put a predator odor in there. There's work now about mate choice in birds, even like zebra finches, little desert birds that are choosing mates based on odor.
So you think it's possible that a turkey could smell you?
Oh, but I think I think vision and olfaction, we all have both, and what you use depends on who you are and the context. And so a turkey has got such great, incredible vision, color vision, incredible acuity, and hearing, and they're probably getting 90% of their. But I bet I wonder if there isn't some.
Dude, that'd be some good study for you to work on. Can a turkey get a whiff of a person?
Yes.
And change its course because it winded you. Because we assume that they have no ability to catch your wind.
Yeah. I would say it isn't no ability. It's kind of like if you look at like David Meck's work on wolves, they start by it's olfactory, and then at some point they know from the concentration that they're very close, and then they're going to switch to vision.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know this from your dogs, that so it's not like they don't have one or the other. And sight hounds, of course, are going to be more visual because they're big open plain desert breeds, right? So it's going to vision makes more sense than olfaction because when things are dry, that's that's bad for olfaction. Olfaction you
That
want
was one of his questions. Yeah.
you want it cold and well actually warm and humid is perfect. But definitely humid. And yeah, we no and
I'm
we
looking at him to see if this clicks with Houndsman lore.
Well, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
reserved because I don't know if we're gonna
hit it with some hound dog- hit it with some hound dog
get into the
questions,
houndsman
man.
stuff. Before we get to the hound dog question, I think we had this one when we were discussing having Lucia on, but like speaking of animals and their relationship to wind and smelling each other and the predator prey relationship, does a predator like a mountain lion know that it emits an odor and thus it has to be downwind when it's approaching a prey animal?
Yeah, do they play the wind?
Absolutely. Because they're incredibly, they're, mountain lions are very different. Felids are going to use odor less than canids. So a wolf, a coyote is going to be using odor very differently than a mountain lion, which is an ambush predator. So they're going to be up in a perch, right, going to ambush. That they're going to use odor, and they're going to certainly be aware of their own odor.
You think so?
Oh yeah. We live in this. I was just thinking about this. It's like the odor internet. The world is basically an odor landscape that we're stupid about.
Mhm.
But all these other animals, the plants have got their own odors. The plants are communicating. The animals are, communicating. And what's actually interesting is that sometimes predator odor is actually attractive to a prey animal because they recognize that is not a scary that predator is not a problem because I know that predator, and so I'm going to so I'll be attracted.
Oh.
I'm going to get more information by spending more time with that predator, and so you can do the same experiment where that another individual is like, no, I'm a little smaller, and that's a dangerous predator to me. So if I smell that, I'm going to be out of here. But what was it? There was a study. This is insane. In gray kangaroos in Australia that were, they gave them, which are like 100-pound animals, they're
Mhm.
big, right? They're, if you just, a naive one was not at all put off by the smell of a Tasmanian devil, which is, an aggressive carnivore. It's much smaller, but it's aggressive. But if you gave them Tasmanian devil scent, they didn't avoid it. This is like an experimental situation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you gave them the scent of a Tasmanian devil who had eaten gray kangaroo, it was incredibly aversive. So the kangaroo,
No way, really?
Yes, the kangaroo knew
He's smelling that little combo.
that predator, that 12-kilogram predator, eats me,
Right.
and therefore I'm going to avoid that predator. And they didn't before. So that's the kind of information that is in scent.
Okay, but see, there have been hunters that have tried to switch over to a vegetarian diet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Uh-huh,
That's
yeah.
We
interesting.
think they're crazy. But my dad had a buddy.
That's actually
My dad had a buddy
interesting.
that would eat all kind of apples and
Yeah.
drink all kind of apple juice before bow season.
But I think that was so that
Well,
when they would
yeah.
pee, they would make a scent that would be attractive to deer, being
but he
apples.
wasn't thinking about seeming like a not meat. Yeah, he was
Right.
thinking about that he would just seem like
Oh.
So how
apples.
long would it take for me to eat a completely, I don't know, vegetarian
I
diet?
think you should go vegan for 2 months.
And-
No. I mean,
Yeah,
you
man,
really,
but the
until
deer's
a
that son
deer
of a bitch
would-
eats deer.
until right until a deer would be like, oh, no worries, don't worry about that
Exactly.
guy.
I
or
mean,
an elk.
you also have, in general, if one per human is not eating me, but everybody else is, they might say,
I
you know
see.
what, I'm just going to be.
So it's not
I-
on an individual basis.
No, but that's an interesting question. I think if you were tracking one particular deer, like, just you had an individual relationship, and then you went vegan for 6 months. I mean, I don't know how people do these experiments, like how long does it take for you to be able to smell garlic on your breath or something if
Yeah.
you've been eating. I mean, it comes out, all that, everything you're eating is coming out through your skin. Apparently, this actually, I read that in Vietnam War, the Viet Cong could smell American troops coming in because they smelled like, as what they said, spoiled milk, because they were cheese eaters, and that wasn't in the
Yep.
Vietnamese cuisine.
My dad said that he was in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He said the smell of Germans make the hair on the back of his neck stand up.
Yeah.
But he thought
Yeah.
it was this. He thought they
Yeah.
had a kind of cigarette,
Uh-huh.
and they had, the whole
Yeah,
crowd
right,
thing.
right.
He thought they had a kind of cigarette,
Mm.
and he could smell that cigarette. And he said it'd make the hair on his neck stand up. And he said he could smell their food and make the hair on the back.
Yeah.
And he said if you
Yeah,
walked into
yeah,
a building,
yeah.
like when you were pushing them out and you came into the
Wow,
buildings
wow.
that they were in, he said it was just like the
Yeah.
worst, because just the association.
The association, right.
know?
Right.
That's right. That's right. No, that's why, and I bet, 40 years later, I bet if you could bottle that smell and give it to him, he would immediately be back in that situation. I mean, this is why.
Oh, he never. Yeah, he never. I can
PTSD
tell you that his hatred stayed
Yeah.
through life.
Yeah.
So it would have been a bad smell.
Yeah,
for
bad
him.
smell. Right. No, I mean, olfactory PTSD, people, real thing, combat smells and things like that. Yeah.
Before we do our hound dog chapter, I got another deer question for you. Well, 2 deer questions.
Okay.
Would it make sense? And you're in a weird position now where you're giving like hunting advice. Could you picture a world in which you like a world in which you acclimated, like Yanni has a property in Wisconsin, a family place they like to hunt deer on. Is there a world in which you somehow broadcast throughout the year, you had a canister that just broadcasts human odor, so that the landscape was just awash in human odor throughout the year, and that you would create a scenario where deer were that was just what the area smelled like. And they would never, and then when they smelled a person, it just didn't matter because the area was constantly awash. Like he hung all of his clothes and stuff in a tree and just had to be that tree just smells that way. And then it would be that later when you're there, they wouldn't even know because it always smells that way.
The thing is that you're going to walk in and they're going to say, "Oh, there's the guy who ate a hamburger yesterday."
Yeah.
It's a fresh scent, It's
God,
not just
like you're never gonna
human.
because they're picking it apart too much.
But I mean, at the same time, if you go to like Galapagos Islands where they've never had predators, you walk up to any animal,
Yeah.
and it's cultural. I mean, whether or not they're afraid of, I have a friend who studied elephants, and the Maasai used a certain kind of clay. It was kind of a decoration, but it would had a scent, and as soon as an elephant smelled that, they were out of there because
God,
the
yeah.
Maasai were elephant hunters. So I mean, it's association. Now what you could do is, I mean, if you say that there was something like that the deer liked, that was their favorite food or something like that, and you put you could do an association between your scent and their favorite food. You could maybe counter condition it, so that they're going, "Oh, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good." Particularly, but the first time one deer sees you with a gun and gives that signal, it's all over, because all the other deer are gonna, because your scent is around and the other deer is around. I mean, no. And you can, there's animals have to learn, sometimes who predators are. And that's been shown in ferrets that they have to, they learn, like the first time they have a bad experience or they see another adult with a bad experience, they go, "Okay, that's predator. I didn't know. Now I do. And I'm never going to forget that."
Yeah.
And you can do, there's like, the study of blackbirds in Europe where, a naive bird in the lab, never heard and never seen a predator. And then you have another blackbird and you have a stuffed owl, and the one who's experienced sees the owl and gives an alarm call. And it only takes one trial for the bird who's never seen an owl to see the owl and go, oh, that's a predator. And from the rest of his,
He
life,
carries it with him.
and sees an owl, it's going to give an alarm call. And every time it gives an alarm call, a naive bird's going to see, what's it looking at? Owl, that's an owl. And you can, and they did, and then they took away the owl and they put a milk bottle there. And they trained, and they like played the alarm call to a milk bottle. And the bird in the lab says, oh, that's a predator. And
Really?
yes.
You
and
could train them to think that a milk bottle was trouble?
because they hear, they hear that it's
Yeah,
all
I
they
got
need
you.
is a call. And so they did that for 7 generations, training, blackbirds to be afraid of milk bottles. So, I mean, it's the same thing. And odor is,
Yeah, that's crazy because
Even
then
more
you got like generations of birds. They've never seen a milk bottle do anything bad, but they just carry it with them that a milk bottle's no good.
because, the thing is, if that's information you don't want to have to learn by trial and error. If you've
No.
got someone in your population who says that's a predator and dangerous, it's like good enough for me. I mean, it takes a lot. So all the deer in your property, they already know very much that humans are, you've got a human odor. They also know that you're male. They also know what you're eating. They know your stress level. They probably know if you've got a cold. I mean, all that is right in your signature. So you can't escape.
So on this, now on the deer chapter.
Yeah, since we're here, let's stay on deer.
The deer chapter. So let me hit with a couple, of things that are sort of that float around in hunter legend. Okay. One is that there's this product that was on the landscape for a long time. What was this idea that you could wear certain clothing with what is it? Carbon? What's in there? Charcoal?
Oh,
You could wear like this charcoal impregnated, whatever.
No, it's
Yeah.
activated carbon.
Activated
Okay,
carbon.
activated carbon. You
Right,
could put
right.
up clothes on.
Yeah.
And deer wouldn't know you were there.
Well,
Do you buy that?
I mean, most of your odors are coming out of your hair. And I mean, so to humans, that's the other thing. Humans, we are more scent glands than any other great ape. We are the smelly ape. So we've got, and they're all concentrated in our hair, in our armpits, groin. So we are just, we're just walking bags of scent. So if you're going to wear anything carbon blocking, you definitely want to be wearing a full head hood, I think.
A head net.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's some that
Or
makes
shave
some
your head or something.
that makes like a little bit of sense to you.
It makes a little bit of sense. Yeah.
Okay, there's another one that you do.
But can I just say that I bet it depends. It wouldn't take much for a deer to realize, oh, that's a carbon scent and it comes with a gun. And then they associate this expensive suit with a hunter,
with
and then it's
trouble.
all and then the game's over.
Can you explain what's going on there? Is the scent being eliminated? Is the scent being masked?
Well, you're masking the human body odor. Maybe you're not you're not masking the face.
So you're not like removing it, because I think the whole thing about with this carbon technology was that somehow it was soaking it up.
I mean, it would be soaking it up. I mean,
Really?
but
Okay.
on the inside, yeah. I mean, it would be like a filter. But for one thing, if you've got any exposed skin, you're constantly emitting,
Sure.
volatiles. But also, the suit itself has an odor, right? I mean, it's not the
Yeah.
outside of the suit is not odorless, and so all you need is for one deer to figure out that suit smell means a hunter, and then that deer to give an alarm call to a suit, and then all the other deer know that suit is a predator.
I
And
see.
so, I mean, you have to do some experiments on this, but
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
could go either way, yeah.
There's another one that goes like you put a natural odor down in such enormous quantity. Like let's say you take they call it like a masking scent, okay? Take something like, well, it's not offensive to deer, but it smells strong.
right.
So let's say like
right.
a female, the urine from a female deer that's in heat.
Oh,
Where like it's attractive,
yeah,
but also it's super powerful.
right.
And he won't be, the deer won't be able to find my smell.
Right. That's
and this
interesting.
is applied in different ways. I'll drown it with this odor.
Right.
And he won't be able to pick my odor out from this overpowering odor that I'm putting here.
Vanilla has been popular lately. Like it's this overpowering vanilla that supposedly.
Well, that's interesting. Vanilla is very interesting. But I just want to say it's kind of like the skunk in the garage. It could be that the buck, is so sensitive to female, in heat that it just addles his brain. And no, but I mean that he's got to be tracking females across huge distances, right? So he's going to be incredibly sensitive to that. So if you, so that would be an odor that you might be able to just overwhelm his system, because unless his brain habituates,
Like he goes crazy for it.
Well, he does, but then he says there's no female here, and then it turns into background. It's like people who live next to pig farms. They can't smell it after a while.
Yeah.
And they go away, and then there's like people study this because there's lawsuits about pig farms. And I think if you go away for a couple of years, you come back, you can smell it again because you've got like turnover.
It happens to me every time. Our water at the house is pretty sulfury.
Yeah.
If I'm gone for a week, my first shower back, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Second shower, it's just like normal
You've habituated.
again. I've forgotten.
Right. So
But never mind the dough and pea thing then. Let's take vanilla.
Vanilla.
Or whatever.
So vanilla.
That you would put a smell down and it'd be like this just wall of smell.
Yeah.
And it would hide the human part.
Well, vanilla is interesting because it actually smells like milk, mammalian milk from like human milk. This has been like it. That's probably maybe one reason we're all attracted to vanilla. That's just interesting. The vanilla is universally considered a very pleasant odor in human cultures. So I mean, again, it's also the problem is you're hunting for dinner and they are trying to save their life. So you've got completely different motivation here, and they're going to be much more conservative unless there's some reason they're not going to be because they're really hungry.
Just speak to the mechanics of it.
The mechanics.
Like, could you put from an animal standpoint? Never mind deer, just like an animal, a mammal.
Right.
Overwhelm.
Could you overwhelm them so much with one odor that they're not finding another odor? Like, let's say this. Let's say I'm baking a pizza.
Yeah.
In my oven, but then I take an ounce of skunk smell and pour it on the counter.
Right.
You're not going to come in and be like, oh, I see all the skunk, but I get a little pizza too. You're just getting skunk.
Exactly.
So is it theoretically possible that you would replicate that scenario and have it be that you're putting out so much vanilla or piss or whatever, or zucchini bread that a deer is like, all I'm getting is zucchini bread?
No, I think it's possible. At the same time, that's an area they wouldn't want to hang out in because it's too dangerous. Because you're just making them odor blind, and that's their. When I studied kangaroo rats, we radio transmitted and tracked them in the desert. It was so interesting. On a windy night, the kangaroo rats will not come out of their burrows, and I think I think it was because partly it's the sound. But I think it's odor. It's like you've got turbulent. Suddenly, they don't know where the coyotes are. And so I think of deer. I bet on a very windy day. So what's your experience?
This is hotly debated.
Okay, that's interesting. What is
with
it?
elk as an elk guide for a decade? Yeah, we definitely felt like extreme wind conditions would sort of would settle the movement a little bit.
They got deer, but here's where this gets tricky. They got deer on collars.
Yeah.
That are like next to the eye of that are like 20 miles from the eye of a hurricane, and they don't change tune at all.
Well, it depends.
Like they go about their business.
Yeah, but see, so I would say again, context. Where is that wind coming in reliably laminar from one direction, or is it like turbulent? So hurricane is one thing. But there actually, if there's a study of blue crabs orienting to odors in streams, artificial streams, they're more accurate orienting to in turbulent streams than than laminar flow, because they
Got it.
are adapted to, their whole evolution has been, life is turbulent. And so I mean, it depends where it is. Like they're in a windy habitat that
Mhm.
they know how wind works and they've learned about it.
Oh,
Versus a forest elk, or more forest. No, actually, that's not true, right? They'd be more open. Whitetail be more closed. But you imagine a forest animal where it's not expecting a lot of wind movement would be more freaked out by
Well, I think
wind.
both those animals, elk and deer, live in a wide variety of
Yeah.
habitats. Both could be open or closed, and probably the one that
right.
lives up on near Shoto, Montana, on the
Yeah.
what do they call that? The Rocky Mountain front, where the
Yeah.
wind blows a lot.
Yeah.
They learn to figure out a way to deal with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And use
Yeah.
their olfactory senses to deal with it. But when the
And-
wind blows like that in Wisconsin, maybe the deer lay low a little bit.
you know
Because
what
it's
works
more
best for them
forested.
from a predator perspective, like a human predator perspective.
Yeah.
They are at a huge advantage in a swirling wind.
Oh, yeah.
Huge advantage.
Interesting. Oh, and
I mean, people just be like a swirling wind. You're like, never mind.
because they, no matter what you do,
You're
they
not
can
going to
smell
get up
you.
on them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get up on them
Well-
in a non, like what you want is what a predator wants
Right.
is a very strong west wind.
Right.
Not very, but like a
Exactly.
consistent west wind. You're like,
Exactly.
okay, I know exactly
Exactly.
what I'm going to do. When you get there and it's like hitting this cheek and then it's on the back of
Exactly.
your neck, you're like, it's never going to happen.
Right. And so
They know
that's,
everything that's going on.
and I
you know what
bet
mean?
that's why this is so controversial, because I bet everyone's reporting different things based on where they are with different wind conditions.
Mhm.
And you've got, animals adapted to local wind conditions. And so sure, in Wisconsin, it's this, but in that great, that place where the Rocky Mountains are, it's that. And so everyone, the deer are going to have different strategies. They're going to learn different. The fawns are going to have learned from their parents.
Mhm.
It's all, they're long-lived animals, social animals. So there's a massive amount of social learning
Mhm.
going on. I'm sure they're learning from the adults.
In our mind, what they like is, without being able to interview them. Speaking of a deer, let's say a white deer.
Yeah.
What he likes an obstruction to his back.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Something behind him.
Yeah.
He can see out here.
Yeah.
And he's in a spot that has swirling wind. Like in our mind,
Yes,
that's where
perfect.
he's comfy.
That's interesting.
Then he's
Okay,
like,
so
I'm
this
gonna
is-
chill.
So this is what you do. You set up artificial swirling wind on your property, and all the deer come in and they love it. And it's swirling wind. And then you go out, just turn it off.
Then it's big bucks galore. Okay, now we're gonna move into the hound dog chapter.
Sounds like a very big bucks, very expensive to set that up on
circulating
40,
systems.
on 40 acres.
All
right, you ready for hound questions?
Sure.
This is the hound dog chapter, the anticipated hound dog chapter.
Yeah. I don't know if these are in order, but we'll just start with what we had for
Pick your
one.
favorites.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the cold-nosed dog and the hot-nosed dog.
Oh,
And I think
yeah.
that Nate explained that to you.
Yeah.
right?
So it's basically a dog that hot is like a recent trail,
Mhm.
and the cold is like it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
And
there
so- yeah.
are dogs
Yeah.
out there that
Yeah.
are in the same pack
Yeah.
that one will find a mountain lion track,
Yeah.
but it is old enough to where they smell it and they just no reaction whatsoever that we can see.
Yeah. They know.
And they keep going.
right.
Another dog in the same pack goes over there that
Yeah.
has the cold nose
Yeah.
and gets on it and boo!
Yeah.
Here it starts.
Yeah.
And they're off to the races. And
Right.
it could be
Right.
some people think that they don't like that because they're running a 3-day-old track. And the lion could be, you don't know, it could be in 2 counties over, right? Anyways,
But
what causes that?
So, definitely, you said nature, nurture, that's definitely both. You're going to have different personalities. Dogs obviously have different personalities, and they have different experiences. And so you've got a dog who has successfully been paying attention to cold. And what's cold is, you've got all this dead skin falling down. You've got all this, this heavy molecules that are falling off you and the mountain lion, and it's all falling into onto the trail.
Mhm.
And the more the heavier the molecules are, and the more the trail has texture to it. It's not like a rock surface, but it's like grasses, vegetation, that kind of stuff. That's going to hold those big, heavy molecules longer. And so it's going to be
Like it grabs onto them.
It grabs onto it. There's literally, has place for it. The other thing that and so there's going to be a lot of signal there, and that might be a dog who's had a lot of good experiences with that on that
cold
on that, and
tracks,
it could be
Like he's caught them before.
right.
He's like, I don't know, I've picked up smell
That's right.
this old and caught it.
And exactly. And that's a huge positive reinforcement. It's like that dog is going to remember. The other thing about olfaction and memory is that we don't forget odors, and dogs don't forget odors. And the odor comes into the brain, it goes right to your emotional centers. And so even in humans, odors are encoded really deeply and emotionally. So that's why I can give you the smell of your grandmother's kitchen, and you can, you recognize it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so you can have a dog that had a really good experience catching, succeeding on a hunt using those heavy molecules. And also it could be, like I said about the chickadees, this would be exactly the same thing. It would be a really interesting study to do, to study a pack that had these different personalities, because it could be that you've got kind of an ADHD dog that just wants to, trail, nose in the air, and the other one's like, no, I'm kind of quiet. I've got 2 dogs, 2 mutts, and one's absolutely will jump on anything, and the other one's slow and actually learns faster because he doesn't jump on things. He will learn a problem faster. And so you could have a slow, deliberate personality that say, you know what, I am going to specialize in these heavy molecules. And
I'm assuming you're going to tell me that it could be nature or nurture, like it could be passed down through generations in their genes because they succeeded running cold tracks, and then you could also teach that to a dog.
Yeah, I think you've got, probably, you've got a litter of puppies, you might have cold, future cold nose, future hot nose in the litter. But then, depending on their experience, how they're trained, what did they have a really good experience using that strategy? Then then what they're going to do. What any predator would do is that they keep working on that. They get better and better, and the rich get richer, right? And then another dog, it's like, well, that never worked for me, or I had one frustrating thing, I lost it. Whereas I trail and I pick up, I do this fast sniffing in the air, and that works for me. So I'm going to do that. But it could be that, interesting to ask your people, like, what else do those dogs vary about? Like, what else are they doing differently?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Like,
what other attributes do they have?
Yeah. Do they rush the gate? Does this one,
Well,
Yeah, like let's say you're like, I seriously, like, you got a cold nose and a hot nose dog, where you put them all in a situation where they're like a minute behind it. Do they still have different attitudes?
Yeah.
Or do they kind of like coalesce around some level of excitement?
Yeah.
Or is he always like, no,
and
nice,
if you give
slow and easy.
Or you give them a problem they've never seen before, there's a lot of work now on, problem solving in dogs, and how do they tackle it? Do they have different strategies to tackle it? I bet the cold hot nose is like just a signature of maybe differences in like overall problem solving strategy. And that's what we talk when we talk about animal behavioral syndrome or personality. It's like a lifelong way of attacking a problem, basically.
I got a buddy who's got a beagle, and his dog's a blood trailer, so it can find a wounded deer.
Yeah.
And one day we put it on a deer, and it knew the path, like 100%. Because we knew the path too, because we lost the blood trail.
Yeah.
But the dog just lost interest. And he said
interesting.
he knows he won't find it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's like funny. It's like he knew where it went, but he's like, he knows he'll never find
Well, the way
it.
that was explained to me, because I called out a deer tracking dog a few years ago, and the same thing happened. We kind of just ended up doing circles, and it was a lot of just dead ends. And eventually he said, I think that deer that we're trailing or trying to trail is not wounded enough that it will die because it emits
right.
through its hooves, it emits a scent
Yep.
that says, I'm wounded, I'm in danger, I'm dying, whatever.
Sure, it's got all that.
That's what that blood, that's what the dog's trailing.
Yes.
It's not trailing the blood.
Exactly. It's trailing corticosterone, the stress hormones.
Yeah.
And actually,
that's interesting. The dog's like, he's not hurt.
There was a study in gerbils where they had one gerbil that I think was stressed or killed by a cat or something, and they took blood from a gerbil who had been attacked and one who hadn't been attacked, and another gerbil could tell the difference between the blood.
Really?
Yeah. So that because you've got you've got stress hormones coming through your blood, is coming out. It smells like it. Yeah.
Right. All right. Differences in scent molecules. Like conditions, dry ground versus wet, warm versus cold, rising versus steady temps, rough ground versus soft ground. You kind of said already, the rougher the ground is, the more scent molecules it traps, right? Or holds.
But that's good for, that would be good for tracking, but not for trailing, right? So if tracking is the ground, trailing, that's how you use it too.
I don't know what term.
Okay, I know, but air like versus ground.
The dog that keeps his nose in the air, and the dog that keeps his nose on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
And
what
so
is the term for that?
The search dog is world. It's like tracking nose down, trailing nose up.
Like we had a guy on that trains the apprehension dogs, and he talked about a dog that goes into a building to find a suspect.
Yeah,
his nose is in the air.
Yeah, right.
A dog that you're like. A suspect last night ran off into the woods.
Yeah.
And now we're wondering where he went.
Right.
That dog's nose is on the ground.
That's exactly it.
And I think it depends on conditions too. I think that at times hounds sometimes will have their nose down.
Yeah.
If the conditions get right and they don't have to have their nose down there, they can scent when their head is up. They can move faster.
Right.
They will switch to that as long as they're still getting that.
Well, and so we did a study of search dogs in California where it's cold and wet in the morning, and this is in the East Bay, and then it's hot and dry in the afternoon, and then cold and damp again in the evening. And so we're using search and rescue dogs, really, really well trained and very carefully controlled, where we had like a 1/4 mile track with a human walking on it and waited at the end. And then we just measured the location of the dog, GPS, and we also developed this thing to measure whether the head up was head up or down.
Mm-hmm.
And we every 10 meters we took a weather station and we measured the wind speed, temperature, everything. And what we found was it basically they were more accurate when it was cooler and more humid. So that definitely. And the reason,
and probably faster too. Then,
well, so that was interesting. What we found is that when they started off, we would these are search and rescue, so we'd give them a sniff of a t-shirt or something, and they take off at first. Once they have the scent, they know exactly what they're going. They start off fast with trailing air in the air, but then if they start losing it, then they slow down. They're still trailing and they slow down. But then if they start, you see them circling. So they after if they slow down, and now they're circling like 10, 20 yards away from the trail, and they're still trailing, but they're circling. Then they're really lost it. Then they may move up to 40 yards away from the trail. They're circling and they're on the ground. So, and what we found is when you had here was a trail, and if there was a big wind coming, there was a lot of probably these heavy molecules blown down off the trail, because there was this one place where the track went next to a small hill. There was wind coming down, and all the dogs kind of scooped down. So they didn't stay on the trail; they scooped down. Yeah, so
they were where the smell landed.
Exactly. And they're so accurate. And
that's really interesting.
So, so there was 3 strategies, and basically when you know exactly where you're going, you're high speed air. And then if you start not sure, you move away from the trail, and now you're using air, but you're moving, you're kind of circling, you're away
But
from the trail.
once they start circling, they've lost it. They're
They've
looking to
lost
pick it back up.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And that's exactly what you see in all animals, butterfly, and moths. I mean, all animals that orient to space, humans, we've done this in humans in virtual environments. It's casting, they're trying to find the plume. But they didn't really do the head down to the ground unless they were really lost. And then they're looking for like some big heavy molecules. But so I think it's like, if you want to go fast, find them, you want to just use
Yeah.
air. But then if you lost it, then you have to, you got to do something slower, harder. But then you say, okay, they were here.
Do you think that can be trained?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these search dog people I worked with, Shay Cook and others. I mean, they start training their dogs when they're 8 weeks old. I mean, you can't just take any dog and I mean, search and rescue is a whole training thing.
Yeah.
But I think you've got breed differences. Obviously, hounds, beagles. I mean, they are all nose. But you've got layers. So you've got the breed, you've got personality, which is going to vary within a litter. Then you've got experience, which is training, and then its own experience. Maybe also, they're going to learn from each other. So, like, is there a really experienced dog that is leading the pack that the younger dogs can pick up on? So all that's going to end, complexity, which is probably why you end up with some amazing dogs, that are doing things. Shay had a dog, Zinka, who she was hired to go to an orchard in Southern California to find an invasive insect pest. And this was like 5-acre orchard, and the dog found both the insects. I mean, and didn't look for, and because she trained her on that insect. I mean, that's the other thing.
How big's that bug?
Oh, tiny, like
Not like a big old cockroach.
no,
or something,
a little tiny thing. And you were asking about, can they learn different things? Well, that, you've got the dog who's only will go for blood or go for whatever's coming out of the hooves. I mean, search and rescue, you've got you've got cadaver versus live, and I mean, we also, and you can have 6 people run out into a field site, and the dog is only supposed to find one person, and that dog will only go to that one person.
Yeah, like
so
that level of detail.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess
on that question.
Go ahead.
On that question of that, there's certain climatic conditions that are good for a dog or any animal to smell.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming to be same for like so. In general, you say, can you hit me again real quick?
Yeah, no, it's the physics really. So, it's more humid is better.
Okay.
And that it turns out that's because water molecules. There's only so many places that an odor can sit on the surface, and when there's a lot of water molecules in the air, they fill up all those places, and so odor molecules stay in the air. This is what the physicists have said. Yeah, it seems like.
And is warm better than cold?
And warm is better than cold because warm is more. You've got more air movement. I mean, or molecules move more when it's warmer.
Yeah.
So you want, but you don't. You want warm and humid, and probably a textured surface, not like, not bare rock.
But assuming that through time odors degrade.
Yes.
Would there ever be a situation? Could it be that you went somewhere, a dog went somewhere, and it was the coldest part of the day? So there's already an odor laid down.
Okay.
An animal's already gone by.
Yeah.
You take your dog there, the coldest part of the day.
Yeah.
And it can't do it. Would it ever make sense to you to be like, I'm going to come back when it warms up
Yes,
and let him take another swing at it? Now the odor is older, But would the climatic conditions ever override the age and somehow activate the odor?
I bet they would. I bet they would.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is, dogs have a really interesting way that they activate odors in the ground. So when the dog knows they've got two holes in the front, right? They're bringing odor in, and when they sniff in, they in the back there's like a little valve that opens up, and that odor gets sucked in that valve and goes right up to this place where, like, that collects all the odors in for detecting. Then that's an inspiration, right? When they're breathing in. When they breathe out, that valve closes and they breathe out through the those slits on the side, and that sends the air to the side and down and backwards. And so when they breathe out, they're not contaminating what they're trying to breathe in
kidding
with
me?
what they're breathing out. Yeah. Yeah, this is Gary Settles did this work. Is amazing, amazing work. It's even more amazing is that he studies aerodynamics, that when they jet air out of the slits of the nose, it becomes turbulent, and it actually creates a little turbulent field. Like, this is when the dog's nose is close to the ground,
Mhm.
and that turbulent field moves forward and sucks air from in front of the nose into towards the nose. So when they breathe out, so that it's like this incredible feedback where the dog, as he's breathing out, he's also making the odors ahead of him come towards him.
God, that's incredible.
So I think we've kind of covered this, but just so that all the hound folks out there know, but like, there's someone that lives in Texas and doesn't want dogs that run bobcats, only wants them to run lions.
Oh yeah,
And he seems to have successfully done so. And you feel like that should be very easy to do, very trainable.
absolutely. I mean, that's what the search and rescue people do all the time. I mean, they will train one dog to do one thing, or they will train I think they're dogs that do more than, like, do cadavers and live humans, and and then there's drug dogs that are only looking for one kind of drug.
Yeah. So,
there's
so
all
it
that.
seems like, from what you're
It's not a
saying, it seems
problem.
like it'd be possible not only for it to know a mountain lion from a bobcat, but for it to know that mountain lion from that mountain lion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe you could say train it just to go for female bobcats. I mean, they would be able to do that.
They'd know that.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd have to. I wouldn't want you to do that, and I don't know how you would do that, but but theoretically,
But their
you could
level
do
of
that.
smell would
Oh,
be
yeah.
that it could tell the difference.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, it just, like, the kangaroo knows that
Yeah.
was a Tasmanian devil that has eaten kangaroo.
Yeah.
There's mice, voles actually, two males know that male has eaten in last 12 hours and this one hasn't. So this one is more of a competitor because it's, so I mean, it's just like there's a massive amount of there's no privacy in olfaction. Everything that you are comes out through your skin and an animal and their scent marks. And that's the other thing, is scent marks. How odors, like when animals, urinate, defecate. I mean, there's a lot of oils and heavy molecules, and those all prevent the odors from evaporating. And so if you're marking what you
Purposely
want on
marking,
purpose,
yeah.
you want everyone to know that that's your territory and I marked it, and you don't want it to disappear because you want them to think I just marked it, because that means I was just there. And animals are really sensitive to how long an odor has been was last there. In fact, this is a dog result, is that if you take a search dog and you bring him in at a right angle to a trail, and are they going to turn left or right to follow a human?
Yep.
Well, there's two studies of this, and where they only need 5 human footsteps to know which way the human went. That's so you've got a human who lays down a trail, like, 20 minutes ago, and a dog comes in, and 3 steps isn't enough. 5 steps is enough. That means that the light volatiles have have
Yeah.
blown off the difference between the first step and the fifth step. I mean,
Like he
think-
can go like weaker, take 5 steps, stronger.
exactly. And so they know that my prey is going, went left, not right. And so that's the kind of discrimination between, a human wearing shoes, 5 steps, that the dog knows that's the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was, and they were stepping on carpet, so it wasn't like crushed vegetation or anything. I mean, it was really just the steps. So
And it should
animal-
be. I mean, if it's doing that with a human in boots,
Yeah.
it should be no different with a lion or a bobcat
absolutely,
or a bear.
because they're sweating through their pads. I mean, animals have all these sweat glands in their pads to protect them. So, yeah, I mean, they're just
Okay, I know for a fact. I've watched him do it. I can explain all the conditions if you want, but
This is a fact.
the short version of we're out there together, Mingus and I, my blue tick hound dog, and he's maybe 20 yards down the hill from me, and we both kind of come up on a track at the same time. And I go, "Oh, I think that's a mountain lion track."
wow,
Before I really looked closely,
Yeah,
and he immediately boop,
yeah,
starts going off. He starts going one direction and does not change directions. This track has quite a bit of fresh snow in it from the morning,
oh, okay.
but it's obviously
Yeah,
fresh
yeah.
enough that he's
Yeah, yeah.
smelling through that fresh snow.
right.
I couldn't tell which way it was going until the track went underneath a tree where there was less snow and I could finally see the toes.
Yeah,
He ran that track backwards. I'm guessing 700 to 1,000 yards.
The
yeah,
wrong direction.
The wrong direction. Eventually, he turned.
yeah.
So, is he just
No, he and his head up, right? He's trailing. He's going for its air.
he's,
So he knows
it's-
that he sniffs the trail. He knows there's a mountain lion.
Yeah.
What was the wind that day?
There was probably, it wasn't dead calm. and
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was something
But this
in
is
the middle.
generally, this is like a general thing that people sort of know. Is that a beagle can very quickly figure out what way a rabbit went,
Mm-hmm.
but a hound can't quickly figure out what way.
Oh, that's interesting.
But here's the key difference: a beagle's always working something that
Exactly,
happened 2 minutes
exactly.
ago.
Oh, okay. And it's also
He's working effectively what happened
and
right
nose
now.
down, nose
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Right.
nose down.
The beagle is doing nose down. So it's working on big molecules that are being left by the body, whereas but that's a very slow way to work as opposed to the hound, which is like, I'm going after a mountain lion. That's a big animal moving very fast. I need to use air, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got to go far. And so maybe occasionally, that's a mountain lion, but now the wind has come in and has shifted it over, like we've seen with our search dogs. They shift
Yeah.
over, and so it's picking up a molecule, a volatile molecule, and the volatile molecules are this way, and then it gets to a point where it's like, you know what, that's the wrong way, and then it's got to come back.
No, but what he means is he's following it like
No, I missed.
like okay. Let's say let's say a rabbit gets scared. A dog scares a rabbit. Or you scare a rabbit.
Yeah.
You see a rabbit takes off. And then someone's like, "Oh, here comes the beagle." So you know what way the rabbit went.
Yeah.
Here comes the beagle. That beagle is going to almost instantly know what direction of travel.
Yeah.
It's not going to run it backwards.
Right, but that's like the dog.
It's
the
going to
dog
go the way it
experiment.
went, but
Right.
it's like, but that's a minute's old trail. But I think what he's saying, his dog didn't know the way the lion was going,
Right,
and he went 700, 1,000 yards in
Right.
the wrong direction.
right. Complete like 180 wrong.
Well, he's literally following the trail backwards.
Oh, he's following it backwards.
He's
I
not
didn't
putting
get
together that it's getting older and older and older.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay, because number one is snow, so it's cold. It's not great conditions, and so
So any snow is going to be bad
well,
or harder.
I think harder, definitely harder. Like, what do beagles do in the snow? I guess that would be
But they're fat, they're fine. But
yeah,
again,
yeah.
he's dealing like just the nature of hunting rabbits with a beagle
Yeah,
is you're
it's-
dealing with things that just happened.
Right. So, but
With a hound, like in that situation, you're dealing with things that are hours ago.
Right. But do beagles mostly hunt nose down
Oh,
also?
yeah.
Okay. So that's a completely different. So now your dog needs to hunt. No, it's an old trail. It's got to hunt nose down. It's got to go for the heavy things, right? And Hepper, again, that study showed that to do those heavy ones, you can do direction, but you need a certain amount of data to get the direction correct. And so you've got an old trail in the snow, so you've got 2 strikes against you. And so there's probably enough odor in that trail that it knows that that's a mountain lion, but there's not enough odor. They're not getting because the volatiles are gone. It's an old trail. So you need the volatiles to know for an old trail, like the beagle probably is getting volatiles too, because it's just
Brand
happened.
new. Yeah.
So you've got an old trail. So all that's left are the big heavy molecules. The volatiles that
Can you just define and explain the volatiles versus the
little
other?
okay, just little things that that evaporate into the air, little molecules. It's like if I'm sure you know all this in perfume, people talk about, I'm just joking, but if you wear perfume, there are base notes and there's top notes. And when you put perfume on your skin, the first thing you smell is a top note. And it's the small molecules that come off first. And then an hour later, then it's a different perfume. It smells on your skin. It's a base note because that's now the top notes are burnt off and now you're getting the base
the
notes.
volatiles are gone.
Right. And so you've got perfume people, and they know top notes, middle notes, base. It's the same thing. And so you're basically an old trail, the top notes are gone. They've all evaporated, before. And so what's left is enough, to know that that's a mountain lion. And this is a fairly, if that was a month-old trail in the snow, your dog might not even, the dog still might know it's a mountain lion, but it's like that trail is so old, I'm not going to bother. Yeah. I'm never going to, some of it's a dog saying, I'm going to, it's not worth my time. But your dog doing a 180 means that it's missing those little molecules that come off early that tell it, because that's like literally think about the difference between the step 1 and step 5. That is like 1 second, difference. And that's how old. And so
but that's helpful with a rapidly dissipating thing.
Right. Exactly. And so
because these same dogs, if they're chasing a raccoon, they know the way the raccoon went, but that's all new stuff.
Right. New.
That's tonight. Right. They're like, they're at midnight. They're talking about what happened at 11 p.m.
Exactly.
His dog at 8 a.m. is maybe talking about what happened at 1 a.m. or what, what I mean, or something.
Or it could even be 8 p.m. the day before.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Or even, if it's important, if you've got a buck, chasing a doe, I bet there could be,
sure,
even longer. In fact, squirrels, they know not only they smell and they smell a female at her, like these are ground squirrels. Males come up and they smell a female, and they know that she's like 3 days away from being receptive, and they come back 3 days later.
You kidding me?
No.
So certainly a buck deer would do that with a female deer too.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like she's not ready yet. Yeah. And they.
But I can tell you where I'll be on Tuesday.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about.
So it's time. Time is that's the one thing that I really think of odor as space and time, because every time you put an odor down, it starts a stopwatch.
Sure.
And anyone smelling it knows when they were there. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, like conditions that either preserve or degrade the sense that these dogs or whoever is trying to follow.
Well, that's why cats cover their, animals cover their poops and cover their scats and things like that, or why you've got, bears, reaching really high up and marking trees because they've got scent glands. I'm sure must have scent glands in their paws, and so they're leaving individual signature. They're also telling another bear that I am that tall. you know, because you can't fake it. They don't have little step stools. You know, why dogs pee as high up as they can into like texture surface. So that's going to stay longer. Anything, you know, textured. But animals really care about how long scent lasts. Mice, males have something called a mouse urinary protein, and it's this massive protein that only males produce an enormous quantity, and it the only function is to make the volatiles not evaporate so quickly. So, and because they're competing. I mean, it's just like coyotes or wolves or anything that's scent marking territorial. Mice are very territorial, and so they're marking their territory, and they want so another male coming in says, "Oh, that male was just there. He's defending this space. I'll back off."
A cat scratching, if it
That should be doing the same. Yeah.
covering its own scat or covering its own
Yeah.
urine, you think it's like he's trying to get it to stick around, not
around.
trying to destroy it.
Yeah,
He's trying to get it from dissipating.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure about that. That could also be trying to, you know, cats are small, reducing scent so that predators don't know you're around.
Mhm.
Also, that's a possibility.
You know, they make marks like
Yeah,
they make visual marks.
yeah,
for
yeah,
each other,
yeah, and
yeah.
that's, you know, but you've got like mountain lions will, you know, bury prey. That's so like other animals don't
Yeah,
find
right,
it. And hyenas cache bones in water holes so that they absolutely no one can
Oh, so they're
smell it.
definitely trying to hide stuff.
That's
yeah.
definitely trying to hide it. Yeah, but a lot of but you know, you can see scent scat piles by coyotes or wolves. I mean, they just keep marking the same place. I mean,
Mhm.
this is like really obvious visual, you know, I am here. I was just here. I mean, this has been studied a lot. It's in there's a study of hamsters that they also do something called counter marking. So one animal will mark and then the other one comes and marks over it. And
Yep.
and they did this study where instead of having two animals marked, they painted with a paintbrush a broken line and then a solid line. So from two different hamsters, and so it looked like the solid line had come after the broken line, but they had actually been done at the same time. But the geometry of the mark would have suggested
Yep.
that one of them
Mhm.
was later and
Mhm.
therefore dominant. And then when they set those two males up as contestants, they treated that male as dominant, even though the whole thing had been set up by the experimenters.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So that means so when you know
Yeah.
when you see scat piles, they probably coyotes and wild they probably know who's done it, when they did it, who did it. You know, I mean, there's just
The
this all this.
sequencing of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just it's like the internet. It never goes away. It's all there. They smell it. I mean, I think dogs probably learn to ignore something that's not going to pay off. I mean, that's, you know, it's not. So the question is, do they smell it, or is it they don't think it's worth it? And to
Mhm.
do that, you need to bring them into like an experiment where you collect these scent samples and you say, can you tell me which one, you know, is this a mountain lion or
Yeah.
which one's older? You should, you ask them which one's older. They should be able to, tell you that, um, and, press a lever for the older one. And so, I mean, those are the kinds of experiments you could do with dogs to find out, because I bet they know a lot more than we know.
In the case of like holding scent and these conditions that might prolong scent being there or get rid of it, like is there you said obviously textures are good because it's just like little nooks and crannies, I'm
Mhm.
guessing, for these heavier molecules to sit in and get held. Is there something that where snow in some form, because it's, you're almost pressing it into a medium, that it would hold scent molecules? Or because there are
Yeah,
times
that's
where
right.
I can
Yeah.
clearly see that it's mountain lion track, but
Yeah.
my dog is not interested, and it's like it's visually there, but somehow the scent has literally
Well, it's also,
disappeared from it.
I mean, it's also cold. it's wet, but it's cold.
Yeah.
And and cold is it makes it harder to the molecules literally it's Brownian motion. The molecules are not moving. And so they're just like they're
So they
not
need
getting
molecules moving to be able to.
because they've got to they got to get it in their nose. And if it's all so normally, if they're smelling close to the ground, the molecules are, they're kind of dancing above the ground, and they'll be able to smell them, and they sniff them, and they're sucking up the air, and they're sniffing them in.
So it's literally the air next to said surface, not the surface itself.
Yeah, I mean, right, because the surface, they can't smell the surface. They have to smell things in the air. And so they're going sniff, sniff, sniff. And then, of course, when they're expiring, they're setting up these they're agitating it. So they're bringing up anything that's on the ground. They're bringing it up into air, and then they can suck it in and find out what it is. But so the same thing when there might be a hard surface or clothing or something, and to smell it, they still need those molecules to be in the air. They can't stuff a piece of cloth in their nose and say that's what it is. It has to be something. It's got to come off the surface into air to get into their nose. So if it's cold, I think molecules are just not going to be moving as much. Their nose isn't probably going to be working as well. I mean, imagine if you took like a hand warmer and put it on the footprint and heated it up. That would be interesting. I wonder if that would help.
It might excite some activity there for smell.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a series of quick questions. So just like, what one's better? Like if as a surface for an animal to detect odor on, okay? So like gym floor, gravel driveway.
I'd say well, for detection, the same temperature, the same wind, and everything.
Everything the same.
I think actually the gym floor, because things are not going to stick to it, so they're going to be more. They're going to, the same wind is going to pick things off the gym floor. But if you want to know 24 hours later where there might be a cold trail, then I would say the gravel, because it would have gone down into the crevices, and there would still be stuff there. I guess actually, so that would be, I would say what are you going for? Are you going for the heavy molecules or the light molecules?
Nah, I didn't think it through that far.
I didn't. I mean, I'm just doing this on the fly, but I think because a smooth surface, it's a smooth surface. The volatiles are just going to, stay aloft.
But it won't have the holding power.
It won't have the holding power. Exactly.
So I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
A rock hard frozen lake, just pure flat clear ice.
Yeah.
Or a lake with an inch of snow. Frozen lake, inch of snow.
I think an inch of snow would. I mean, for one thing, a frozen lake is going to have. It's cold. It's probably going to be windy. Everything's going to get blown off. And whereas the snow has some texture to it, so it could hold on to stuff.
Yeah.
And snow is actually going to keep things warmer, because it's slightly warmer under snow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Got it. Can I do one more?
Yeah.
Smooth granite surface. Inch of snow. Like smooth granite, dry surface.
Right.
Smooth a granite surface with an inch of snow.
Yeah, again, I think it would be if you've got an animal that's moved fast over the smooth granite and you're right on top of that animal, then that granite is going to lift. There's going to be a lot of volatiles in the air, and so that a dog with his nose up in the air is going to have a lot of information. But if it's a little older, then the snow is going to hold some of those large molecules. And I'm not a hunter, and I'm be completely wrong about all this, but that's my.
No, this isn't hunting questions. This is smelling questions.
Yeah. But
That's true.
I think that
I-
what Steve is getting at a little bit, and I think it must have been in here somewhere, is that the dry ground versus a wet ground, or what would be
Yeah.
called like a snow type hunt.
Yeah,
right?
there's a
Yeah.
debate.
Like in
here. There's a
Arizona-
debate here that
Okay.
you'll think is interesting.
In
Debate. You'll lay it
Arizona,
out.
and the Southwest, the hounds are constantly having to work in dry conditions.
Right.
No snow.
Right.
The northern tier of the Rockies, we're always running tracks in the snow.
Mm.
I think it's a common belief that the dry ground hounds have it harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when all else fails, humidity, so you've got it hot and dry.
Mhm.
That's what our dogs, they were the worst, hot and dry, and they're better when it's cold and humid. Now, we weren't working in snow, but maybe that's the same thing.
Well, you're talking about the snow's ability, because this is cold.
Yeah.
This is old stuff, old
Yeah,
information.
right,
The
right.
snow's ability to hang on to some old information.
Yep, exactly. And snow does. That's why animals burrow in snow. It's warmer. You're warmer in the snow
Right.
than you are exposed. So yeah.
No, this has been really interesting because I think you are you're clearing it up, but I think for reasons that maybe a lot of hound hunters hadn't thought about,
Mhm.
right? That it's really about what's going on above the surface, not so much
That's
on the
right.
surface.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
because they're
That's
not.
right.
Yeah, no,
That's
I got it. That's the thing I hadn't
That's right.
thought
That's
about. Is like
interesting.
when
Yeah.
it's smelling, like just like definitionally, it has to be something that is in the air.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're using the vomeronasal system,
Unless they're tasting this,
they're tasting
licking
it,
Yeah.
which is when licking it. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like when they're panting,
So
when they're working real hard, how's that affecting their
that
ability?
blocks their smell. They can't sniff and pant at the same time.
Really?
Yes, that
Ah.
definitely. There's
What?
yes, no, because you can't bring air into, that's just going straight into your lungs. You've got to bring it past the olfactory epithelium. You're not panting through your nose. You're panting through your your mouth. Yeah.
Oh, I got to hit you with one about this whole dry ground humidity deal. So my buddy Kevin Murphy, he likes to run rabbits with his beagles. He lives in Kentucky. He runs rabbits all over hell all the time. We took his beagles out to New Mexico, like in the flat out
Oh,
desert,
Yeah.
and put them on jackrabbits.
Yeah.
And also cottontails. So same rabbit,
Yeah,
also
yeah,
cottontails.
yeah.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah, I
They couldn't
believe
do it.
it. Oh, that's
And in his mind, he's like, they're not used to hot and dry.
well, no, the hot and dry is harder, period. And plus, though these, if we're thinking beagles are nose down, heavy molecule
Brand
trackers,
new. Yeah.
but
yeah.
still, it's just not gonna. Yeah, they're gonna. They're using brand new, and so they're gonna lost all their volatiles they're used to. They're spoiled. They're in Kentucky. It's incredibly hot and humid.
Yeah.
They've got, it's like a perfect olfactory, situation. And then it's just like, probably if you kept those beagles in Arizona for a year, and they would learn.
I see.
But you just bring them out there, and they're going,
Dump 'em out.
There's no information here. I can't do this. Yeah.
There's people trying to figure out deer, and they make synthetic scents
Oh, huh.
that are meant to, be like, not only is it a scent coming off the face of a deer, but this is specifically mimics the forehead gland, or specifically mimics the preorbital, or
Yeah.
the glands that are, where they pee on them on their
Yeah,
hocks.
yeah,
that
right.
right. So again, just in your experience and messing around with scents, like, is it possible for us to make a synthetic scent that could fool a deer's nose and brain?
No, because hamsters have like the same thing. They've got like 4 different scent glands, and and so the lab work, and this is, I'm sure, true for deer, that they recognize individuals by all these different, but they know that that's the anal gland and that's the chest gland, but they also know it's that individual.
Mhm.
So it's a really complicated signal. And, you've got a deer with 5 different scent glands. Everyone smells different. They're all different.
Mhm.
they're different for that. They identify that individual, and now you're bringing some generic thing, that is generic hawk odor that or maybe it was synthesized for a deer in Wisconsin, but you're actually hunting in a completely
Sure.
different population. Probably they smell differently. Like they're going like, who the hell is that?
Mhm.
Oh.
I don't know who that is. I mean, I've never, or that's not even my neighborhood. That's not even my state. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, if they came to Wisconsin and they synthesized, your 5 glands for each one of your deer. Even so, I think it'd be very confusing for the deer to know, like who is that? I mean, that's a weird robot deer. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's
Mhm.
like if you showed up wearing a Halloween mask, it's equivalent of you wearing of doing something very weird. They recognize that it's deer and they recognize that it's a scent, but they don't understand what it means.
Like
they-
a stranger walking into your house and your kid's like, oh, it's just a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. Come, sure, have dinner with us. It's like, no. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I think that they're underestimating the deer's intelligence, and also the other thing is that it might be that I mean, in some populations, how are deers using these glands? Is that something that they're marking out territories, or is it aggressive, or it's just it's kind of like it's a deer language, and you're
Mhm.
coming in with a big sign that says one thing, and the deer's going, what are you saying? I don't,
Mhm.
they're just, it's
Well, some of these
confusing.
manufacturers will claim that, hey, you don't use this one during these dates. This one is specifically meant from October 15th to November
Right.
1, when the bucks are going to be specifically going to the scrapes, marking them in a very territorial fashion.
Right.
And you want to basically introduce a stranger so that buck's like, man, I don't know who's been hitting my scrape, but I need
Okay.
to come back here and keep putting my scent
Now
back
that's
on
right.
top
No,
of
that's
it.
that makes complete sense. Because
That does.
they're marking and then they're counter marking. That's right. So that's exactly what the hamster
But you
stuff.
feel like we could fool that buck enough to make him think that someone else is counter marking, so I need to come back and counter mark
I
it.
mean, the thing is, if you give them an animal something that's really, really important, like, and to a buck, whether I'm going to
Yes.
reproduce, that is everything. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't, it doesn't matter if I live or die. If I don't reproduce, who cares? So that's life or death for a buck. So that would be, this is weird, but I'm going to do it. It's kind of like when I was trapping squirrels, and for behavior, and when in the middle of the summer, you can trap any squirrel as much as you want, but as soon as the oaks start ripening again, the squirrels are going, I'm not going in that trap. I know it's a trap.
Oh.
It's a trade-off. I'm like, I know it's a trap. I know it could be bad, but I'm really hungry and I'm going to go for it. And 2 weeks later, it's like the same squirrel. And then,
because they know at that point they have enough
The risk,
food
yeah.
exactly.
somewhere
You
else.
know what's crazy about
It's-
that? So we got a buddy in Arkansas,
Mm.
and they'll put out bait piles for bears. And in the summer, you might have 17, 18 bears on a bait pile. The minute the acorns hit,
Yes,
they're gone.
exactly. Oh,
And it's like, well, it can't be easier than a bait pile.
No,
But in
but-
their head, it's like, no, it's not easier than a bait pile. It's just less risky than a bait pile.
it's it's also it's not as good. I mean, acorns are really
Yeah.
highly nutritious, and I think that's actually, because the same thing with squirrels. They evolved to eat acorns, and acorns are full of kinds of
Yeah.
micronutrients that there's no way I can't walnuts and peanuts
So
and
he's
stuff
slumming
like
it
that.
when he's on bait.
Exactly. I mean, hungry and slumming it. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one for you about canines, and this is so in the outdoorsman world, okay, there's this long running debate. If you went back to 1980, all right, in 1980 there was an idea that you could that a fox trapper or a coyote trapper could wear rubber boots and slosh around in a mud puddle, wear rubber gloves and wash them. Okay. That you could go and like set a trap and have it be that the fox or the coyote would not know that a human was there. You could make it that he was never there. Since 1980, the understanding has evolved to now where there's guys that don't even wear rubber gloves. Because in their mind, they're like, there's nothing you can do.
I think that's right.
They always know you're there.
Yeah.
You can play games.
Yeah.
It knows you're there.
Yeah. I mean,
you're tricking yourself to think that it doesn't. It's like it knows you're there.
Yeah. 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 Because, we are dropping dead skin cells like thousands all day long, and you've got these skin cells that are covered with bacteria, and the bacteria are decomposing, and that makes your own particular odor. I mean, you're just leaving a stream of heavy, pieces of tissue around you. So you're walking through the woods, you're just dropping trails. So it's not just your feet. It's like you're just dropping that information. And again, if you're dinner or my life. And so an animal who thinks you're a predator, they just need one little whiff of that. And
so you
they
think
know
the
you're
idea
there.
that you would hide, like, and this is like not old, this is like yesterday.
No.
You think, I'm saying, when I mean that, I mean that you think the idea that 24 hours later, that you could hang out in a place for a minute, hovering around a place for a minute, that 24 hours later in your mind, it doesn't matter what you got on your hands.
I think
it's like there was a dude here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think unless you did all this masking and all this kind of, but just yourself with gloves, without gloves, I think they would still know. Yeah.
But this masking that you speak of, that's what we're interested in.
I know. Well, but I don't know. I mean, again, animals, it's like actually, I've got, mice in my car. And so, what really works are these rodent, smelly packets, you get these herbal packets.
Yeah.
And they, you put them and I thought that, I was just realizing I was putting them in yesterday because
you have mice vandalizing your car.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And yesterday, like before I flew out here, I turned on the the air vents and all this mouse bedding's blowing out. It's like I got mice back here.
You live on a farm.
Yeah,
Right.
and we've got the mice, deer mice all over the place, and I realized no, it isn't that they don't like the smell of this fragrant thing. It's not. It's that it masks their own odor, that they can't, that it confuses them. If they're moving around this dark car using a lot of odor, and I've got all these big stinky packets that people buy for their cars and their trucks and everything, is like, it's disorienting. It's like having wind. So I think,
and again, it's like a blind spot, like you said before. It's like that odor blind spot, and they don't like that.
But that's what you're saying is the interesting point about this issue is like, in our minds, okay, when I say our, I just mean collectively, like people that are trying to trick animals. In your mind, you're creating an atmosphere that he'll be comfortable being in, but just won't be able to tell what's going on. And you're saying you might be creating an atmosphere where they don't want to be in it.
Right. Because
it's like you're creating a confusing space.
Information is safety, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to be in a space that you didn't know where anything was. I mean, that's very dangerous. I mean, animals, number one, where am I? That they use vision, olfaction. I mean, they use everything they can, and then there's home court advantage. Animals are safer in spaces where they know they have escape routes. They know where the predators are. They know who the predators are. All that stuff is very important. So you come in and you do make it chaos. I don't, But
I want to tell you a story though.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of what you're talking about in a way, but with humans. So my buddy, I have a buddy in Hawaii, Danny Bolton, and they have a coffee plantation, like a family property, and he's got all these banana trees. I think at one spot in time they were like cultivated intentionally, but now it's just like scattered banana trees. And I was out there with my kids, and they're trying to find a bundle of like ripe bananas, which you can't find because everybody's always in there getting the bananas. He says, though, if you really want to find ripe bananas, you got to go. They have this pile where they make their own fish-based fertilizer. So they have a place where they're rotting down fish carcasses. He says, I guarantee you'll find ripe bananas there because no one wants to go there.
Oh.
So you go down to the rotten fish pile and it's ripe bananas all over the place. Because it's like he just finds over the years that people are like, they hit that wall of stench and they go look for bananas somewhere else.
I tell you,
it worked. There's like ripe bananas.
That's animal behavior. That's perfect animal behavior. That's exactly how you should think about deer in the woods. Yeah.
I think we'll be remiss if we have a gray squirrel expert here and we don't hit on, like, you got to tell us, like, what's cool about gray squirrels and their noses. And I don't know if we want to talk about caching.
Yeah, tell us the best thing we don't know about gray squirrels.
Okay, well, I mean, so my PhD thesis, they remember where they bury their nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And recent work we did in California was that squirrels, when they bury nuts, we gave them a random series of nuts of different species. They organized them by species so that they would move, so that the walnuts are here, almonds are there, hazelnuts are there.
Like you'd give them a pile and there'd be 3 of each.
No, we give them one at a time so that they didn't know what was coming next. So they all of a sudden, we give them a walnut and they carry the walnut that far. We've actually also showed an earlier study that they measure the weight of the nut by shaking it. So you watch a squirrel, give a squirrel a nut, put it in the nut in the mouth, they go like that. And that's just like if you had something really light and you want to know how heavy is it, you do that. Yeah. And so it's force equals mass times acceleration. It's Isaac Newton. I get to say that. It's true. But they measure it, and then depending on how heavy the nut is, they carry it farther away from the source tree where all the other squirrels are. You want to get it far away and cache it so that other squirrels don't find your cache. Mm-hmm. So the bigger the nut, the farther they cache it.
Because it's more valuable.
It's more valuable. And they, not only that, but then if it's a really valuable nut, they cache them further apart so that if one squirrel finds it, then they start looking like this. They don't find the next one. So if you give them
like a diversified portfolio,
it's completely, that's exactly the same thing, And so you've got the density of a hazelnut is like this, an almond is like this, and a walnut is like that, And so if you give these squirrel a random series of nuts, you give them a nut, they weigh it, then they go out and cache it, and they're caching it in the walnut area, and then they come back and it's an almond. Now they got to go cache in the almond area, and then they come back and they cache, and every time they go out, they have to remember where the other one was, so they have to keep the density right.
Yeah.
And they do that because we're out there marking it.
Like, can he keep, how many walnuts can he keep track of?
We don't know. They cache thousands, probably 3,000 a year of gray squirrel. And we know that in the lab they can remember, they can accurately remember like 7 of 10. But no one's figured out yet how to measure how much they remember in the field. The thing is, squirrels are actually, they cache in, August, September, and then they're caching in their area, in their home area. And so they are out, they're active all winter. And if you look at a squirrel, November, December, all winter, they're out there sniffing the ground, and you'll see them sniff the ground even through snow and sniff. And then they'll, but if there's like just leaves, and they're like checking caches, and then they'll put the leaves back on it, and they'll go to the next one, and then sometimes they'll dig them up and move them. So they're constantly managing them, all winter. So I don't think they actually have to remember them for 9 months. They eat them, they cache them in August, they finish them, April, something like that. And so, but they're not. There are birds that cache them, Clark's nutcrackers, caches pinyon seeds in August, September, and then they may not retrieve them until March. And so those really, and under deep snow. So those animals, they really are remembering exactly where they are.
But a squirrel's constantly fiddling with them and
Exactly.
passing over them and re-smelling them.
Yeah. But they can remember, but they don't have to. I mean, so mammals squirrels are interesting because they've got really good memory, but they can also smell. Whereas most birds, I just saw magpies yesterday. I love magpies. Magpies actually have a good sense of smell, and they can, if you coat a raisin in cod liver oil and bury it, a magpie can find it. That was a study showing that because they're carrion eaters. They're probably, like ravens and magpies, they're probably attracted to smells.
Mm-hmm.
But squirrels can do both. They can smell or they can, you get started with squirrels, it'll be another 3 hours.
So I remember, but we had a squirrel expert on one time years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
John Kaprowski.
Yeah. Episode
Oh,
259. I pulled it up.
Yeah, he was doing
Yeah.
this stuff. See, I remember
he's an expert on this.
I remember reading in headlines. I remember at one point in time reading in a headline that someone's like, squirrels can't, that they don't get their own cashew nuts any more reliably than somebody else's.
That's not
true.
Not true. I mean, that's what, no, I mean, I've been literally studying this since 1981.
Yeah, so they're more likely to go find their own than they are to find somebody else's.
Yes, and what I saw in I had this like 10-yard by 5-yard arena where I had hand-raised squirrels that were, and what I would put in decoys, their own caches and then decoys. And if a squirrel came up and there were like two nuts right next to each other, one was his and one was a decoy. If he hit the decoy first, he'd keep going. So I think his memory was like, there's one there, but if I find one, so he's not using smell because if he was, then he would go to the one that was like 2 inches away, but he wasn't. He would just go on to the next one. So it's like a little map going boom, 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 boom. And I studied the same thing in kangaroo rats and Miriam's kangaroo rats, which they hoard like squirrels. And I found sex differences there. That was interesting. The males were more likely to use odors. They were more likely to find caches that still had seeds in them, and females, we had a bunch of landmarks around, and females, as long as the landmarks were there, females were super good at that. And males didn't use the landmarks as much, and they were more likely to use their nose. But that's a whole nother area of research I've studied for a lot, is sex differences in landmark use in kangaroo rats and humans, and male refrigerator blindness. I'm sure you've heard of that.
No.
This is where a man goes to the refrigerator and says, "Where's the butter?"
Oh yeah.
And opens it up and says, "I don't see it. I don't see it." And then it's actually right there. So I mean, it's just,
I call that all 3 of my kids' refrigerator blindness.
oh
Yeah. Yeah, terrible at fetching
anyway,
shit out of the
no.
fridge.
So you see similar things in kangaroo rats. That's all I'm saying. But.
So you're when will your book on squirrels be ready?
So probably I'm hoping it'll be come out like fall of 27.
Okay. And what'll it be called?
It's called The Wealth of Squirrels.
Okay.
And it's really about the economics of hoarding in squirrels, and everything I've just been talking about.
And it'll be like, is it intended as a popular book?
It's going to be a popular book
For like Joe Blow, not like not like an academic
okay,
title.
and can I mean, I've never done this before, so I'm a little cautious saying this, but that's what I've got a contract for this book from Harvard University Press, and they've agreed to let me write it as a story, actually.
Okay.
So it's really going to be a kind of a fictional story that is it really should be a fun read, but it's going to be very dense science. It'll all be based on science. There's no humans, just squirrels.
Okay.
So it's an experiment. We'll see.
Yeah. So
it's gonna, John. I mean, people it's gonna get peer reviewed too. So it's gonna the biology is gonna be. They won't accept it if the biology isn't absolutely right.
The Wealth of Squirrels.
The Wealth of Squirrels.
Okay. So listeners, stay tuned for Dr. Lucia F. Jacobs, The Wealth of Squirrels. And thank you for coming on today and explaining everything about how animals experience their world through smell.
Thank you. I have learned a huge amount and have really enjoyed this. This has been great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
It
much.
was. Thank you.